Hi friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In this video, I want to discuss about exception handling in PL-SQL. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. Normally, we will have two types of errors. One is syntax error and another one is exception. The syntax error, suppose let's take that you need to write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line to display something on the console using the PL-SQL. But you have written as dms underscore output dot put underscore line. Then you have not followed the exact syntax because you need to write dbms, but however you have missed the b, then it will give an error for you. That kind of errors we will call it as syntax errors. If you modify the program and again if you run, then you will get the output. Similarly, you will have an exception also. These exceptions we will call them as runtime errors. Suppose let's take that in a program you are doing the division. In the denominator you have given the 0. Then we will call it as an exception because a numerator cannot be divided with a 0. In mathematics you will get infinity, but in programming language that one we will call it as a runtime error or exception. The syntax errors we will call it as compile based errors or the errors we will get during the compile time, whereas the exceptions we will call them as a runtime error. If we have given the input wrongly, the syntax is correct in the program, but however we have given the input wrongly, then we'll get the runtime errors. That runtime errors, even we can call it them as exception. So we will discuss in detail about the exception handling. Now let me define what is an exception. An exception is an error which disrupts the normal flow of a program instructions. Normally you have written a program and it consists of several steps or instructions. If it does not have any runtime error, then all the steps or the instructions will be executed one after other, and finally whatever the output you want to get, you will get. But if there is a runtime error or an exception, then this exception will disturb the normal flow of a program instruction. PL-SQL provides us the exception block which raises the exception, thus helping the programmer to find out the fault and resolve it. So we have an exception block which is an optional one. In that one we can raise the exception which helps the programmer to find out what is the issue and then we can resolve it. We have two types of exceptions in PL-SQL. One is user defined exception and another one is the system defined exception. In user defined exception, the user or the programmer itself will define the exception and then using the raise keyword we can raise an exception. Whereas in the system defined exceptions, we have already the predefined exceptions are there, such as to underscore many underscore row exception, value underscore error exception, and similarly you have the 0 underscore divide exception. Like that we have already the predefined exceptions, or I can say system defined exception. So we have two types of exceptions. One is the user defined exception and another one is the system defined exception. The generalized syntax of an exception is you have when an exception, then you can write then, and then what are the statements you want to execute when this exception has occurred, then you can write them. So usually this exception we will write in the exception block which is there inside the begin block. So you will write begin, what are the executable commands or statements you want to write, you will write them, end with a semicolon, and then you can write when and then exception 1 then if this exception 1 has raised, what are the statements you want to execute? You can write them as statement 1, statement 2. Then you can write when exception 2, then you can write statement 3 end with semicolon, statement 4 end with semicolon. So if exception 1 has been raised, then statement 1, statement 2 will be executed. If exception 2 has been raised, then statement 3, statement 4 will be executed. If any other exception has been raised other than exception 1, exception 2, then you want to execute those statements, then you can write when others. Then what are the statements you want to write? You can write here statement 5, statement 6, like that you can write. So this others will specify that other than exception 1 and exception 2 has been raised, then these statements will be executed. I hope you have understood the syntax of exceptions. At the end, you can provide the end statement to close the begin block. So you will have begin, inside that one you will have the exception block. The other keyword should be used only at the end of the exception handling block, as no exception handling part present later will get executed, as the control will exit from the block after executing the when others. So if you want to execute any other exceptions other than exception 1, other than exception 2, any other exception should be raised, then what are the statements you want to execute? Those statements you will provide in the others, and this other should be and after all the exceptions. After that one you have to close this end block. So that is what the purpose of the other keyword. Now let me discuss about the system defined exceptions. As I said earlier, we have two types of exceptions in PL-SQL. One is the user-defined exception and another one is the system-defined exception. These exceptions are predefined in PL-SQL, which get raised when certain database rule is violated. If you have violated any database rule, then these predefined exceptions will be raised. As I said earlier, the system-defined exceptions are already predefined, which will be raised when a certain database rule has been violated. Further, the system-defined exceptions are broadly classified into named system exceptions, unnamed system exceptions. So, already we have told you that in PL-SQL we have two types of exceptions. One is user-defined exception and another one system-defined exception. In system-defined exceptions also we have two types of exceptions. One is named system exception, unnamed system exception. In named system exceptions, what are the predefined exceptions are there? For that one already predefined name is there, such as no data means no underscore data underscore found exception, to underscore many underscore row exception, value underscore error exception, 0 underscore divide. For all these things there is a name for the exceptions. So those exceptions we will call them in the category called named system exceptions, whereas for those exceptions there is no specified name. Such kind of exceptions we will call them as unnamed system exception. Now let me discuss about the named system exceptions. They have a predefined name by the system, like no underscore data underscore found, access underscore into underscore null, dup underscore val underscore on underscore index, login underscore denied. Like that we have several named system exceptions. So for these exceptions already predefined name is there. You can use these names to raise the exception. Now let me discuss few of these named system exceptions, such as no underscore data underscore found, 2 underscore many underscore rows, 0 underscore divide, value underscore error. Like this we have several named system exceptions. So few of them I will discuss. So first let me discuss about no underscore data underscore found. You can write this one in the capital letters or in the smaller letters also. Why it is? Because Oracle is not case sensitive. Either you can provide them in the uppercase or in lowercase. When this no underscore data underscore found exception will be raised as, it is raised when a select into statement returns no rows. Normally, we will give the select into statement to retrieve the rows from the table and store them in the variable. But whatever the select into statement you have written, it does not given any rows. Then this exception will be raised, no underscore data underscore found. Now let me discuss this no underscore data underscore found exception in detail in PL-SQL. So what I will do, first I will create a table. How can I create a table? The syntax is create table, table name. What is the table name I want to give? I want to give the table name as Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4, and I want to give 3 attributes called ID, name, marks. So I will write ID and the data type is number of size 2, comma, name, varchar2 underscores, varchar2 of size 20, then marks of data type is number of size 2, and then finally I will end with the semicolon. Now you can see table has been successfully created. If you want to look at the description of the table, you can write a statement called DESC space table name. Now what is happened? Parnika 1, 2, 3 does not exist. What is the table name we have created? We have created a table name called Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to write DESC Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4 underscore. Sorry, not underscore. It is semicolon. Now you can see it is giving all the column names and the corresponding data type. We have ID, name, marks, and then corresponding data type is number, varchar2, and then number. Now I want to insert some values into the table called Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4. How can I insert? I can write insert into table name is Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I need to write values, and I can give the values. I will give the ID as 1, and then name I will give as Jagadish, and let's take that Jagadish has got 100 marks, and with semicolon. What is happened? Number you have given 2, right? So you need to enter 2 only. Now let me modify this one. Instead of 100 I will give 10 only. Let me save it and end with backslash. Now one row has been successfully inserted. Now I want to insert another row. I will write insert into Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4 values. I will give the ID as 2 and the name I will give it as Rajesh, and marks I will give it as 9, and with semicolon. One more row has been successfully created. I will create one more row, or I will insert one more row using the insert statement. Insert into table name values, and I will give the values as 3 Sita, and I will give the marks as 8 and with the semicolon. Now if you want to look at the information which is available in the table called Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4. So how I will write? Select star from table name as Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4 and with the semicolon. Now you can see we have the values as 1 Jagadish 10, 2 Rajesh 9, 3 Sita 8. Now let me clear the screen, and then again I will write set server output on and with the semicolon. Now I will write a simple program to discuss how this no underscore data underscore found exception will be raised. I will write declare statement, and then I will declare a variable called temp of type is varchar2 of size 20 and with semicolon. Then I will write the begin statement, and then I will write select ID into temp from Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4 where name is equal to, what are the names we have given? Jagadish, Rajesh and Sita. But we have given, does we given any name called Ram? No, we does not have any name called Ram in the table called Parnika 1, 2, 3, 4. So I am giving that one. then any row will be selected. There will be no rows will be selected. If there are no rows have been selected, then you will get an exception called no underscore data underscore found exception. So that I have to write in the exception block, and then I will write when no underscore data underscore found, and then I need to write then, and I want to whatever I want to display I can write using the dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and then I can write error no rows are there or something, whatever you want to display you can display it, and finally you can write end and then slash. Now you can see as there is no name called Ram in the table called Parnika 1234. So that's why you got an error called no rows are there, which we have given when this no underscore data underscore found exception has been raised. So we are handling this named exception called or system defined exception called no underscore data underscore found. If you want to look at the entire program in detail, let me open this one using the notepad. So I have written the declare. To declare a variable called temp of type is varchar2 of size 20, and then I know that exception block you need to write inside the begin block. So I have written the begin block, and I need to write the select into statement to retrieve a row from the table called Parnika 1234. So I have written select id, okay, because I want to retrieve the id of the name called Ram. So that's why I have written select id, which is one of the attribute in the table called Parnika 1234. That id value I want to store in a variable called temp from the Parnika 1234, where name is equal to Ram. There is no name called Ram in the table called Parnika 1234. So you know that no rows will be selected. If no rows are selected, there will be no value in the temp variable. So then an exception will be raised. What is that exception? No underscore data underscore found. So when this exception has been raised, what is the output we should display? We have written here. So we have handled the exception called no underscore data underscore found in this PL-SQL program. I hope it is clear for you. Now let me discuss one more exception called to underscore many underscore rows. When this exception will rise, when you are storing multiple rows in a single variable, then that variable can hold only one row or one value. But if you are trying to store multiple rows, then this exception will be raised called as to underscore many underscore rows. To underscore many underscore rows exception is raised when a select into statement returns more than one row. Now let me discuss this exception in detail using one PL-SQL program. So what I will do, let me clear the screen, and then I will write set server output on end with semicolon. Oh, sorry, I have to write set server output on end with semicolon. Now it is clear. So I will write a program. So what I will do, I will write the declare statement, and then I want to declare a variable called temp of varchar2 of size 20. And then I will write the begin statement, and then I will write select name into temp from Parnika 1234 end with semicolon. I have written a statement called select name into temp from Parnika 1234. There is a table called Parnika 1234. In that one, what are the names are there? Several names are there, right? Like Jagadish, Rajesh, Sita. all this one I am trying to store in a single variable called temp. A single variable can able to store one value, but you are trying to store multiple values. Then the exception called to underscore many underscore rows exception will be raised. So I am trying to display the value which is there in the variable called temp. So how I will write dbms underscore output underscore put underscore line, and then I will write temp, and then I will write a statement called exception, and then I will write when to underscore many underscore rows, then I will write dbms underscore, oh, there is an issue. Let me end this one. I know there error will come. Let me write the program again. Declare, to declare a variable called temp varchar2 of size 20, and then I will write begin select name into temp from Parnika 1 2 3 4 end with semicolon. Then I will write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line to display the value which is there in the variable called temp. Then I will write the exception block by writing a statement called exception, and I want to handle the exception called to underscore, I'm really sorry, to underscore many underscore rows. Then I want to write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I want to display the statement like error, so many rows have been retrieved, so many rows have been retrieved by the select into statement, end with semicolon, and then I will write the end block, end with semicolon. Now you can see we got in an exception called to underscore many rows, and you are getting the statement called error, so many rows have been retrieved by the select into statement. If you want to look at this program properly, then let me open in the notepad. I have written a statement called declare to declare a variable called temp, and then I have opened the begin block, and I have written a statement called select name into temp from Parnika 1 2 3 4. From the table called Parnika 1 2 3 4, I am retrieving all the names. There are three names are there. One is Jagadish, Rajesh and Sita. All these names I am trying to store in a single variable called temp. In a single variable you can able to store one string, because it is, you have given the data type as varchar2. Either you can store Jagadish or Rajesh or Sita, but you are trying to store all the three values. That is not possible. Then this to underscore many underscore rows exception will be raised, and then we are handling by displaying this error. I hope you have understood. Let me close this one and let me clear the screen. If you want to retrieve all the information which is there in the table called Parnika 1 2 3 4, now you can see there are three names are there. One is Jagadish, Rajesh and Sita. If you want to only display the attribute value of name only, then I can write select name from, right, from the table name is Parnika 1 2 3 4 end with semicolon. Now you can see name Jagadish is there, Rajesh is there, Sita is there. All these three names you are trying to store in a single variable called temp. That's why this to underscore many underscore rows exception has been raised. Now let me discuss one more exception called value underscore error exception. This error is raised when a statement is executed that result in an arithmetic, numeric, string, conversion or a constant error. Suppose let's take that you have declared a variable called temp whose type is number you have specified of size 2, but somewhere you are trying to assign a character to this variable called temp. Will it can store? No, it cannot store. In that case value underscore exception will be raised. So this error is raised when a statement is executed that result in an arithmetic, numeric, string conversion or a constant error, this error mainly results from programmer error or invalid data input. Suppose let's take that you are trying to perform the addition of two non-compatible data types, like one is an integer, one other one is a string, then an error will rise, right? So such kind of errors we will call them as value underscore error. Now let me discuss the simple PL-SQL program to illustrate this exception called value underscore error. Let me clear the screen, end with semicolon, and then I will write set server output on, end with semicolon. Then I will write declare, to declare a variable called temp, and the data type I will specify it as number. And then I will write the begin statement, and then I will write a statement called select name into temp from Parnika 1234, where id is equal to 1, end with semicolon. Then I will try to display the value which is there in the variable called temp. So I will write dbms underscore put underscore line, and then I will simply display the value which is there in the variable temp. Now you look at here, what you are trying to retrieve the name from the table called Parnika 1234, where id is equal to 1. What is the name in the table called Parnika 1234, where id is equal to 1? It is Jagadish. So in the name you will have Jagadish, that you are trying to store in a variable called temp. But this temp, what is the data type you have specified? You have specified it as a number. Then you can able to store the numbers, but you are trying to store a string, that is not allowed. In that case, a value underscore error exception will be raised. That one I want to handle now in the exception block. So I will write exception when value underscore error, then I want to write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I will write value error, end with the semicolon, then I will write end with semicolon, then backslash. Now you can see we got an error called value error. Now if I simply make this one as varchar2 of size 20, and then displaying the value, then what will happen? Now you can see you have defined this variable called temp with the data type as varchar2 20. Then you are trying to store the name called Jagadish into the temp, that is allowed. Then you can see what will happen. We are getting the output as Jagadish. In that case, this exception called value underscore error exception has not been raised. If there is no such error has been raised, then what are the statements which are there in this exception block will not be executed. If there is an exception has been raised, then whatever the statements you have written here, those statements will be displayed. Okay, now let me open this program in Notepad. Now you can see I have written the declare statement, and I have declared a variable called temp of type is varchar2 of size 20. Then I have written the begin block, and then I have written the select into statement. What I have written, select name, means I want to retrieve the attribute called name from Parnika 1234 table, and I want to store into the variable called temp where id is equal to 1. You know that in Parnika 1234 the id 1 corresponding name is Jagadish. That Jagadish will be stored in the variable called temp, and then you are displaying it. Now the temp is varchar2 of size 20. So a string can able to store in a variable called temp of data type is varchar2. So then there is no issue. But here if you specify it as a number, okay, then this value underscore error exception will be raised, because Jagadish is a string that you are trying to store in a variable called temp, which is a number. In a number you can able to store the numbers, but you are trying to store a string, then it will raise an exception. Now let me clear the screen, and now I will discuss one more exception called 0 underscore divide exception. This exception will be raised whenever you are dividing dividing a number with 0. Now let me discuss this one with a simple PL-SQL program. Let me write a statement called set server output on, and then I will write the declare statement to declare a variable called name of number, and I will store the value as 10, and I will declare another variable called b, and I will assign the value as 0. Okay, so this is an assignment statement. And then I will declare another variable called c of number. Then I will write the begin statement or begin block, and then I will write C assignment operator A divided B. So what is the A value? 10. What is the B value? 0. So you are trying to divide 10 by 0. Then in mathematics infinity will come, but in programming language an exception will be raised. That exception will call it as 0 underscore divide exception in PL-SQL. That C value I want to display. So I will write a dbms underscore output dot put underscore line the C value I want to display. As the 0 underscore divide exception will be raised, now I want to handle that one using the exception block. So I will write exception when 0 underscore divide, then I will write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and then I want to display a statement called cannot divide a number by 0. Let me end with semicolon, then I will write the end and then backslash. Now you can see we got a statement called cannot divide a number by 0. Now let me edit this program. Here I will give the b value is 5. Then you are trying to divide 10 by 5. Then what will happen? Then 0 underscore divide exception will not be raised. Instead of that one, you got the output as 2, because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that value 2 will be stored in the variable called C, and that one you are displaying. So as there is no 0 division, so the 0 underscore divide exception will not be raised, and what are the statements you have written inside that block will not be executed. Okay, if you want to discuss, let me discuss this one by opening in Notepad. So I have declared 3 variables called A, B, C of number. For A, I have assigned the value 10. B, I have assigned the value 5. Then I have written the begin statement. C, assignment operator I have written. And then I have performed A value divided by B value, which is 10 divided by 5, which is 2. So C will get the value 2. That 2 you are displaying. If in place of 5, if I write 0, then 10 divided by 0. Whenever you are dividing any number by 0, then in PL-SQL 0 underscore divide exception will be raised. What are the statements you have written inside that one will be executed. So I have written to display cannot divide a number by 0, then this output will be displayed. So this is about the 0 underscore divide exceptions. So we have discussed about no data underscore found exception, 2 underscore many underscore rows exception, value underscore error exception, 0 underscore divide exception. All these exceptions comes in the category called named system exceptions. Now we will discuss in detail about the unnamed system exceptions. Oracle does not provide a name for some system exceptions called unnamed system exceptions. The name itself is saying unnamed exceptions. For these system exceptions, there is no specified name. Whereas in the named system exceptions, for every exception, there is a corresponding name called 0 underscore divide, 2 underscore many underscore rows, like that. But when it comes to the unnamed exceptions, there is no specified name. These exceptions does not occur frequently. That's why they does not given any name. So these exceptions does not occur frequently. These exceptions have 2 parts. One is code and another one is associated message. So whatever the code you want to write, you can provide, and the corresponding associated message. Normally, these unnamed exceptions we will give as pragma exception underscore init. Then I will write exception underscore name, whatever the name you want to provide, you can give here, and then minus error underscore number. So there will be a corresponding number for it. So error underscore number is a predefined number and have a negative number from the range from minus 20,000 to 20,999. So we have a predefined negative numbers from the range 20,000 to 20,999, where 20,000 and 20,999 is a negative numbers. Now let me write a simple program to discuss about unnamed system exceptions in detail. First let me clear the screen by writing a statement as CLE space SCR end with semicolon. Then I will write set server output on end with semicolon. Now I will write the declare statement to declare one variable called exp, and then I will make it as an exception, and then I will write pragma exception underscore init, and then I will write exp, and then I will give one number as 20,015 end with semicolon, because the range itself is from minus 20,000 to 20,999. And then I will declare one more variable called n of number, and I will assign the value as 10, and then I will write semicolon. Then I will write the begin statement or begin block, and then I will write a for loop. So for I in, I will write 1 to n. So I will write dot n. I will write loop, and then I will write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and then I will display the I value as I into I. So whatever the I value is there, first I value is 1. So 1 into 1, that I will display. 1 into 1 is how much? 1. Then I value will be 2. So 2 into 2, 4 will be displayed. Now I want to write if a certain condition I into I is equal to 36, because when the I value is 6, 6 into 6 is equal to 36. Then the condition will be true. Then what are the statements I want to execute? I will write here. I want to raise an exception called exp. So I will use the keyword called raise to raise an exception called exp, and then I will write end if, and then I will write end loop, and then I will write the exception block. So I will write when exp, then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and I want to display a simple statement called welcome to Parnika tutorials, end with semicolon. Then I will write end and then backslash. Now you can see when forgot to write exception, right? Let me write edit. Here I need to write exception. Spelling also should be correct. Then I can write the exception. So exception block is compulsory. Now you can see we got the output as 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Then this exception called exp exception has been raised, and then what are the statements which are there in that block has been executed, because initially I value is 1, because this loop will start from 1 and go up to the 10. So initially I value is 1, so 1 into 1, 1 will be displayed. Then I value will be 2, 2 into 2, 4 will be displayed. Then I value will be 3, 3 into 3, 9 will be displayed. Then I value is 4, 4 into 4, 16 will be displayed. Then I value is 5, 5 into 5, 25 will be displayed. Then I value is 6, 6 into 6, 36 will be displayed. Then this if condition is satisfied. In all the remaining cases, the if condition is not satisfied, because when the I value is 1, 1 into 1 is 1, 1 is equal to 36, no, the if condition is false. But when in the I value is 6, 6 into 6 is 36, so 36 is equal to 36, so the if condition is true. Then what are the statements which are there in the if block will be executed? What is the statement is there? Raise exp. So So you are raising the unnamed system exception called exp. Then this exception will be raised. It will go to the exception block. What are the statements you have written will be executed. So you will get the output as welcome to Parnika tutorials. Before that you will get output as 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Then you will get welcome to Parnika tutorials. I hope you have understood about the unnamed system exception. Now let me discuss the user defined exception, because in PL-SQL we have two types of exceptions. One is user defined exception and another one is the system defined exception. We have discussed in detail about the system defined exception. In system defined exception also we have two categories. One is named system exception and another one is unnamed system exceptions. All these things we have discussed in detail. Now let me discuss about user defined exception. Users can create their own exceptions according to the need, and to raise these exceptions we use a keyword called raise. So according to the user requirement, he can define a user defined exception, and those exceptions can be raised with the help of raise keyword. When it comes to the named system exceptions, we does not use the raise keyword, because whenever there is a runtime error, automatically the corresponding exception will be raised. But when it comes to the user defined exception, the user is creating its own exception. Then if you want to raise that exception, then you need to use the raise keyword. Now let me discuss a simple program to discuss about the user defined exceptions. Let me clear the screen and then I will write set server output on end with semicolon. I will write the declare session to declare three variables called x, y and dyv1. So I will write x of number, and then this x value I want to read it from the user. Then y is also a number. This y value also I want to read it from the user. Then I will write dyv1, which is also a number, and then I will write exp1, which is an exception, and similarly I will write exp2, which is also one exception, and then I will write the begin block. I will write a statement as if y is equal to 0, y is equal to 0, then I want to raise an exception called exp1. So I will write raise exp1 end with semicolon. I will write else if y is greater than x, then I want to raise an exception called exp2. So I am raising these exp1, exp2 according to my need. If y value is equal to 0, then I am raising an exception called exp1. If y is greater than x, I am raising an exception called exp2 with the use of the keyword called raise. And else, if it is not y is equal to 0, not y is greater than x, then I want to perform the division value, and then I want to perform it. So I will write dyv1 is equal to x divided by y, and then I will write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, and then I want to display the result is. I will write the result is, and then I will provide the concatenation, and then I will write dyv1 end with semicolon, and then I will write end if, and then I will write the exception here. What are the exceptions I want to write? exp1 and exp2. So I will write when exp1, then what I want to display here, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I want to say you cannot divide a number by 0. You cannot divide a number by 0, because y value is equal to 0, because x by y you want to do, the denominator is 0. So then you are raising in one exception called exp1, and that exception you are handling. Then you can write when exp2, then I will write then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line, y value is greater than x. I can write y is greater than x. I will write end and then backslash. Now it is asking the user to enter the x value and y value. I have written the x value is 10 and y value is equal to 0. Then what is the output you will get? You will get the output as you cannot divide a number by 0. Okay, what is the issue we are getting? Instead of using the assignment, we have written the comparison. See, in other programming languages, equal to is an assignment. But when it comes to the PL-SQL, the single equal to is equal to comparison operator. But if you want to assign some value, you need to use the assignment operator. Let me edit the program. Let me open this one in the notepad, and here I need to write the assignment instead of the comparison operator. Now let me run the program. It is asking the user to enter the x value. Let me enter the x value as 10, y value is equal to 0. Now you can see we got an error. What is that error? When exp1 then. Now we will see what is the issue. So let me open the program in the notepad. So I have written the ed statement, and then you can see we have written the declare. To declare the three variables called x, y, dyv1 and exp1 and exp2. exp1, exp2 are the two exceptions. And then I have written the begin block. I have written if y is equal to 0. If y is equal to 0, then we are raising an exception called raise exp1. Then we have written else if y is greater than x, then we are raising the exp2. Means if y value is equal to 0, then I am raising an exception called exp1. If y is greater than x, then I am raising an exception called exp2. Else, if these two conditions are not satisfied, meaning is that if y is less than x, then I am performing the division and the value I am displaying. Now here what is the issue here is that we have written the exception spelling wrongly. The exception block you need to write CEPTION, then you need to write the exception statement. So I have written when exp1, then I have to display you cannot divide a number by 0. If exp2, then I want to display y is greater than x. Now I have modified this program, and then I will provide the backslash. Now I am asking the user to enter the x value. I have entered 10, y value is equal to 0. Now you can see you got the output as you cannot divide a number by 0. Why you are getting this output, you can see. Let me open this one in the notepad. So x value user has entered as 10, y value user has entered as 0. Then in the begin block you have written the condition. What is the condition? Y is equal to 0. What is the y value? User has entered 0. What is the right hand side? 0. So 0 is equal to 0. The condition is true. If the if condition is true, the statements which are there in the if block will be executed. What is the statement you have written? Raise exp1, which is an exception. So you are raising an exception which is called exp1, which is a user defined exception. Then it will go to the exception block and it will verify this exp1. This condition is also true. Then what are the statements inside this exp1 block will be executed. So you got the output as you cannot divide a number by 0. Now let me close this program, again run the program. This time I will give the x value is 5, y value is 10. Then what you will get? Y is greater than x. Why you are getting? You can see. Okay, x value I have entered as 5, y value I have entered as 10. Then it will verify this if condition. What is the condition? Y is equal to 0. What is the y value you have entered? 10. 10 is equal to 0. No, the condition is false. If the if condition is false, the statements which are there in the if block will not be executed. Then you have else if condition. What is the condition? Y is greater than x. What is the y value? 10. What is the x value? 5. So 10 is greater than 5. So the condition is true. If the condition is true, statements which are there in this else if block will be executed. So what is the statement you have written? You are raising an user defined exception called exp2. Then immediately it will go to the exception block. First it will verify whether it is exp1. No. So this condition is false. So then it will verify exp2. Yes, this condition is satisfied. If this condition is satisfied, the statements which are there in this block will be executed. So you are getting the output as y is greater than x. Now let me close this program and then let me run it again. This time I will give the y value as 10 and x value I have entered 10, y value is 5. Then y is not equal to 0, y is not greater than x. So the if block and else if condition both are false, so the statements which are there in the else block will be executed. So there you are performing x divided by y, so 10 divided by 5 will give you the output as 2, so that 2 you are getting as an output. If you want to verify, let me open the program in the notepad. You can see you have declared the variable. I have given the x value as 10, y value as 5. Then this if condition will be false because y is equal to 0. You are saying what is the y value? 5 is equal to 0. Now the condition is false. Then it will verify this else if condition. What is the condition? Y greater than x. What is the y value? 5. What is the x value? 10. 5 is greater than 10. No, the condition is false. If the if condition is false, else if condition is false, then the statements which are there in the else block will be executed. So you have written div1 assignment operator x divided by 5. Y, okay, x value is 10, y value is 5, so 10 divided by 5 you will get 2. That value will be stored in the variable called div1. That value you are displaying. The result is, what is the value which is there in the variable called div1 has been displayed, which is 2. So this is the way you can write the PL-SQL program to discuss about the user defined exceptions. I hope it is clear for you what is an exception, what are the two types of exceptions. One is user defined exception and system defined exception. Then I have discussed in detail about the system defined exception, and then I have discussed the various types of system defined exceptions such as named system exception, unnamed system exception. In named system exception I have discussed about to_many_row exception, no_data _found exception, then 0_divide exception, value_error exception. Then I have discussed one PL-SQL program to discuss about unnamed exception, then user defined exception. If you still have any doubts related to this concept, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.